Hello, hello. Welcome to the Taurus season forecast workshop. I'm Jenny Fitterer, and we're just going to go ahead and get started with this workshop for the upcoming Taurus season. So we're just going to be starting with going through some of the planetary transits that are going to be happening during the period of Taurus season. So just kind of seeing a little bit of the astrology that's going to be present. There's a lot going on this season. And then I'm going to do a general tarot reading for everybody in the collective during this time and see what's coming up. So we're just going to stick with that really basic structure. We're just going to dive right in. So Taurus season is from April 19th through May 20th. So we're just finishing up Aries season now, and April 19th. All of these times are going to be in Pacific time, just so you're aware. That's where I'm at. So we're going to be starting in Taurus season April 19th. So Taurus season, overall, there's some basic themes for Taurus. Taurus is the second sign in the zodiac, and it is an earth sign, and it is a fixed sign. So earth signs are feminine, and fixed signs are they're very solid. They're very tenacious, and quite solid in what they're doing. They're not going to be kind of bullied around too much, and are very good at getting things done. Not necessarily the best at starting new things or being very flexible, but they're just really, really consistent. So, and Taurus as an earth element, earth is a very stable, grounded element as well. So Taurus season is like the most solid kind of sign that there is, where it's a really, really great time for knuckling down and being really consistent, and putting in the work. The animal sign associated with Taurus is the ox, so of hard working, shoulder to the mill, and just really pushing and working really, really hard. So in a really positive sense, Taurus season is a really, really great time to work at your goals and to just do the practical things of that are going to get you where you're trying to go. Downside of Taurus season, because it's so grounded and so fixed, can be very, very stubborn. If you're a Taurus or you know a Taurus, you can know how that can go. Just can be very, very stubborn, very held firm to the ground. Like if you try to move an ox, try to move a cow, they're gonna stay where they're gonna stay, and they're gonna go where they're gonna go. So that can be a fabulous strength if what you are really attached to is very, very important. You're not going to be bullied and knocked around. So having a really firm backbone can be a really great quality, but it can be problematic if you're unwilling to compromise, or if that which you're kind of fixed on isn't really helpful anymore. So there can be really difficulty allowing change to happen. So in Taurus season, there can also be a lot of association and thinking with the concepts of security, wealth, finance, the material things that we have in a positive way that can really get us grounded in our finances and making really, really good choices for our wealth situation. But it can also bring in this kind of fear hoarding tendency of being afraid to lose things and wanting to keep all the stuff that you have. So that can go kind of either way. So one can be really, really stubborn and not wanting to share out of a fear of not having enough. But if Taurus is really grounded, and in this season, if you're really grounded in your choices for wealth and comfortable with what you have, or being comfortable in the ebb and flow, that he says sometimes you may lose things, but sometimes then you can gain things as well, and not have such a rigid feeling of scarcity, or that in order for somebody else to gain, you have to lose, or for you to win, somebody else has to lose as well. If you can kind of get those ideas away and realize that we can build and create more and additional abundance for ourselves and for other people, and that nobody has to lose, then that kind of feeling of needing to hoard onto everything can kind of be relaxed. So those are a couple themes of Taurus season. Taurus as well is a very embodied sign. Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus, and has a lot to do with sensuality and fertility. So being in the senses, in the body. Sensuality isn't just sexuality, although that is a key component of Taurus and that kind of essence of fertility. But sensuality is just existing in a body and being focused on touch, on taste, on listening, music, sounds that are pleasant. Just the experiences we have of the world through our senses are things that Taurus really likes to luxuriate in. but you may notice that if this season, like if your sensory experience is unpleasant, that might affect you more. So if you're like in a workplace that is really, really jarring to the sound, or really uncomfortable lights, or if your home space is just like you're not in a comfortable space and you don't have the ability to give yourself pleasant sensory experiences, that might be kind of more heightened, that you might not notice it as much in other times. But in Taurus season, you tend to tune into your body a lot more. So for this season, you're going to really want to like focus on giving yourself some nice gifts in a sensory way, to just kind of give you that extra energy to keep going with your tasks. So that's some basic concepts of the overarching energies that are present in Taurus that are going to be a bit more heightened for you. The first main planetary transit is actually a pretty big one. So the planet Pluto, which is the furthest out in our solar system, has been in Capricorn for quite a while. Pluto is a very slow moving planet because it's the furthest away from the sun. So it's been in Capricorn for quite a while, and we're just right at the edge of Capricorn. And Pluto's about to go retrograde, so it's going to start to go backwards through the space in Capricorn that it's already traversed for a time. So Pluto's going into retrograde on April 29th, and so that's going to come with it a bunch of different things. I'm not going to be able to get too in-depth on Pluto because Pluto is a really big like planetary force in terms of affecting the collective in a really deep way. So the outer planets in the solar system, they are mostly working on a collective scale. So they're affecting whole communities, nations, the globe altogether. It's a very overarching energy. There is also a personal energy as well, but it's this kind of dual situation. So you're going to notice a lot of those kind of Plutonian themes out in the world, and then you can also tap into it to see how you can work that yourself. So that's kind of a bigger concept to cover, but basically when a planet goes retrograde, a lot of the focus is on any words that starts with like reflecting, reorienting, restructuring. And restructure is a really key word for this retrograde because Capricorn is the sign of structure. It's ruled by Saturn, which is all about structure, boundaries, discipline. And so Capricorn is a sign that has to do with our integrity, our structural systems, governmental systems, all of the things that are in place that have to do with us and the generations that come after. So it's this kind of long lineage look ahead of the structures that are going to be providing for us and for our children. And so a retrograde is going to kind of shake it up and bring a different, like an attention to, well, this is how we've been doing things for a long time. Can we look at that again? Can we reorient ourselves? Can we reflect, is this really, really working? We can examine how historically these structures have worked for us, and do we really want to work with those? Do we want to do something different? So a retrograde already has that energy of reflection and perhaps making a change, but Pluto as a planet is a planet of destruction and change, of swift and total complete change. It's the planet of wiping the slate clean and starting anew. So where Pluto is moving anywhere in the zodiac, it's going to be bringing usually a lot of tumultuous and chaos that is really shaking things up and knocking down that which isn't going to work anymore. So Pluto has been in Capricorn for a long time. So we've been seeing globally, we've been seeing this shaking of structures, shaking of governments, shaking of different ways in which we've been doing power structures and ways in which we think about how we provide for ourselves and for the earth in the coming times. That's already been present for a while, and now when we go retrograde, it's going to be like cycling in a deeper way, and like really kind of getting to this crunch point. So that's what's going to be kind of visible on the outside in the world at large. But for you, how that can work on an individual level is you can think about those same things. Maybe we're not talking planetary and governmental structure, but personal structure, how you order your day-to-day life, how you engage in your own forms of discipline. What integrity is a really big word for Capricorn. So what it is that is integrity to your values and how you choose to structure your life to be in alignment with that integrity so that you can build and create that lineage that is going to be not just for your own life or your own moment in the present, but for this to be a long-lasting sort of thing. So this is a chance for you to really reflect on your values and what it is that you do on a daily life, and if it is actually going to build positively towards those goals. So there's another concept in Capricorn is the parent, specifically the father figure, but parenting. And so one of the aspects of this retrograde is this concept of re-parenting yourself. So we hear a lot talking about inner child work and trying to parent that inner child, and the ways in which we received parenting from our biological parents, from our influential parents, from our culture and society. But that was only ever good to a certain point. And as you learn more about yourself and you realize the ways in which you could have been parented in a different way, and you as the adult that you are get to, and who has the most intimate knowledge of yourself, get to step into that role of your own self-parent and think, okay, like, what are the ways in which you pep talk yourself? What are the ways in which you talk to your inner child or your inner self? Is it positive? Are you like really your best cheerleader? Are you being really, really aggressive and pushing yourself and saying that you won't be proud of yourself, or no one will be proud of you until you get what you think you need to be doing? Like, is that kind of that aggressive parenting style, or are you totally laissez-faire? Do you never hold yourself accountable for things? These are all the things in between. This is a great time for you to examine the ways in which you treat yourself and you parent yourself and say, is this positive? Is this in integrity to my values? Is this helping me show up in the world and helping me show up for myself in a way that feels really positive? And this is a really good time during this retrograde to start to examine those things. So Pluto retrograde, because it's quite slow, it's going to be going on for quite a few months. So this is just the start. So this is the beginning of starting to think about these questions. This is not sit down on April 29th and write down all of your reparenting goals and figure out your entire structure and be ready by the 30th. Like, this is a multi-month process. This is just starting to get the gears in motion. And thinking about, in all retrogrades, it's an invitation to slow down. The motion of the planet is going from linear to going back before it goes linear again. And so in this going backwards time, it's an invitation to slow down. We're not on a forward trajectory anymore. So whatever you're doing, give yourself rest. Pluto is a very intense energy, can bring up a lot of traumas, a lot of fear. And so that's definitely something you want to take piecemeal, and you want to make sure that you are feeling supported as you do so you don't have to do this all the time. So this is just dipping your toes in, that this is what's going to be coming up for quite a few months, and I encourage you to just take your time and don't resist it, but you don't need to rush through it either. So that's just kind of the basics of Pluto retrograde. It's a bit of a doozy. But then on actually the same day, April 29th, we have the planet Mercury. So our closest planet to the sun in the solar system, fastest mover, is going to be moving into Gemini. So Mercury is totally at home in Gemini because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is this messenger god, this god of thought, communication, math, problem solving. And Gemini is the sign of the student, the learner, the quick-witted, like cynic and trickster as well. So Gemini is a very light, very kind of bouncy, flowy energy. And this is going to be interesting because whereas Taurus, we're in Taurus season, is this earth fixed sign. It's like the densest, heaviest sign. Gemini is an air sign and mutable. So it's super, super flexible, super light, super vibrant. So even though our sun is going to be in Taurus and this heavy, like, practical sign, our minds in Mercury are going to be like really, really moving, really like ready to communicate. Gemini is very, very verbose. So you may find that you like really want to communicate a lot more, visit people, talk with people, share your ideas, and really be in communication. So whether that's with people, or whether you like to journal, whether you like to create, and just make things in a way to get thought down and communicated. This is going to be a really, really great time to be writing down ideas, brainstorming things, talking with people, and just feeling that feeling that kind of airy energy. But it also may kind of play contrast with if you're really wanting to be consistent with that Taurus work ethic, and Gemini can bounce from things to things to things. So your brain might be like, I want to do this, I want to do this, and how about this idea? This seems really fabulous. And that might be really kind of jarring for you if you're trying to be consistent. So be patient with yourself. Try to whether that's setting yourself some specific discipline of like, okay, like I've got my goals, but I'm gonna like, let myself do multiple goals at once if your brain is kind of going different places. Or this is actually with that element of writing that Gemini brings. Write down your ideas so that you're not distracted by thinking, oh, if I don't pursue this thought right now, I'm going to forget about it, and that shifts you out of this Taurus work ethic. So if you have a little journal of plans or ideas or things that are inspiring or conversations you want to have or thoughts that come up, write them down so that they're ready for you when you get to them, but you don't need to be so distracted from what your other goals might be. So that's we're going to be in Gemini quite a lot for a while, because we're going to go Mercury's going to go retrograde and kind of traverse through Gemini again. So we're going to have lots of that air energy in that mental capacity. So there's going to be lots of right ideas coming. Again, you don't have to follow everything right away. Taurus overall as a season it's about seed planting and nurturing and growing and tending. It's not harvest time. In the northern hemisphere, this is springtime. This is when we're just starting to till the earth and get things in the ground. And so we're not expecting to have everything come to fruition yet. And so same with our minds being in this Gemini place, is just because you have the idea, it doesn't mean that you have to actualize it instantaneously. And there can be that lack of patience with Gemini where you're like, just want to jump to the next thing. And so just try to be patient with the fact that just because you have this many ideas, you can only actually make things come to fruition at a certain time, and only so many things at once. So just be okay with the things that you're going to have more thoughts and energy than you have time to act on. And just kind of enjoy that inspiration and that lightness of Gemini, especially since that Pluto's just gone retrograde. May be feeling like, like that heaviness, but we get that extra injection of this Gemini lightness, which can kind of just, one of the fun elements of Gemini is this access to the idea of the cosmic joke, that we can be so serious, that there's so much pain and suffering, we don't really even understand. Sometimes it can be such a struggle as to why we were incarnated here and why it is that we have to undergo so much torment. And Gemini kind of brings this trickster element to it, this like the ability to laugh in the face of anything and the ability to not take yourself so seriously. So even though we're in this Pluto retrograde, we are really wanting to seriously consider things with integrity that are important, but at the same time we can juxtapose it with this lightness and this kind of idea that actually, you know what, ultimately, how much does it really matter? It's a paradox. It matters, and yet it doesn't. We live these serious lives, but we will all die in the end. Like, we will turn to dust, and yet there is value in the life and struggle. So it's this interesting paradox that brings this lightness of, all right, bring it. Like, here we go. So try to keep that in mind if you are, because we do also have a bunch of planets still in Pisces to start. So we've got Neptune in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, Venus and Mars are in Pisces at the beginning of Taurus season. So that can come with it a lot of emotions and sensitivity and feeling of collective empathy and collective suffering. And so that can feel really heavy. So really enjoy this Gemini injection of lightness and just trying to find the humor in things. So that was Mercury in Gemini on April 29th. The next transit we have, sorry if I'm looking over to the side here, this is where my notes are, so I'm not just like skittering over here. This is just reading my notes. So Venus is going to move into the sign of Aries on May the 2nd. So we're in Pisces right now. Venus does really well in Pisces. Venus is very luxuriant and loving and trying to focus on relationships. And Pisces is so empathetic and connected to the other. And when we move into Aries season is really bringing us back into ourselves and into our ego. It's the first sign of the zodiac. So what the cycle that Venus has gone through from last time it was in Aries till Pisces now is this one big cycle and lesson. So what Venus is experiencing in Pisces is this kind of culmination of a story, and she's about to start a new chapter by rolling into Aries, and that chapter is bringing herself back into the self. So whereas we've been maybe having these like more wanting to sacrifice for others and feel into the feelings of others with this luxurious Pisces energy, Venus in Aries is kind of being back to a warrior princess here. Aries is a very masculine fire sign. It's very, very strong in the self and has these borders of the ego again, and is this hopefully healthy integration of anger as a fuel to fight, because there are many things we do need to fight for in this world and fight against. So Aries is really going to take up arms in defense of their borders, in defense of their ego. They definitely don't want to be undermined, told what to do. And they're also going to be fighting for their cause. Aries can connect to a cause and then really, really marshal up their energy for it. So Venus in Aries, Venus is a sign of love and where our values lie. And so this is where we suddenly really get passionate in what can be a militant way about the things that we love. So you can kind of even picture like lovers that are going to fight for each other and fight through anything to be with each other. It's not a passive love. It's not a, I value and I like this thing and I hope it comes to me, or I really like it, but if somebody takes it from me, whatever. Venus in Aries is going to fight for what they love. And so but because of that, with that heavy injection of that Aries passion, that can be tricky in terms of losing sight of thinking of others, losing the ability to compromise, and losing the ability to be rational and critically thinking, because Aries is very impulsive. So if Venus is seeing what she loves and she is fighting for it, and she has what she loves and she is defending it. So that has a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and it's very actionable, but you do still want to be connected. You don't want to forget what Venus just learned in Pisces, which is that everybody has values, everybody has love, and we should be in empathy and aware of everybody else, and we should still be in loving community with the collective. We want to hold on to that lesson, not lose it completely as Venus starts to take up arms again. So because then we're just going to be fighting for what we want and maybe taking it from other people, or not realizing when just because we desire something, it doesn't mean that it's ultimately best for us, or ultimately best for us in the way that we might first impulsively think we want it. So trying to have a bit of like a rational temperance to combat that Aries impulsivity is going to be really helpful. But this is a really great injection if you've been feeling that like confusing illusion, like dissolved, murky feeling of all the planets that have been in Pisces, where it's very hard to like cut through. If you join me from the last Aries season workshop, we were talking a lot about how the Aries energy is very like, yeah, it's hot, it's impulsive, we want to take action on things, it's inspiring, but there is still so much Pisces energy, which is kind of nebulous, and it's hard to see, and it's hard to make choices. There's no boundaries. Everything feels like it's one thing. And so there's this desire to move forward in action, but this confusion of where to go. I can't really see what's going on. So as more planets are going to be starting to move out of Pisces, we're kind of burning off some more of that kind of steamy, clouded vision. And we're moving with a bit more clarity. So Venus is coming out of that fog, that dreamlike fog, which has a lot of very beautiful inspiration to it, and now taking that inspiration with this clarity of now I can take action on it. So it's going to be a really interesting and exciting time. Lots of this sort of like passionate, fiery time to add to this already very sensual Taurus energy. So we've got Venus ruling Taurus, very sensual in the body, and then Venus being in Aries, wanting to really take action. So that's kind of sexy. Like there might be a lot of sparks flying this Aries this Taurus season. So have a lot of fun with that, but be judicious as always. So I think that's all I'm going to say about Venus in Aries. Then we have on May 10th, Jupiter is going to be joining Venus in Aries. So Jupiter has been having a nice time in Pisces, had a good retrograde as well, and is now going to be moving, again, the same themes of moving out of that sort of like nebulous dreamer state into more of a direct, actionable, forward thinking, and back into the center of the self. So but Jupiter's interesting as well because Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's the planet of luck and bringing just expanding whatever is going on. So whereas when Jupiter was in Pisces, there was like this expansion of our connection to the collective and expansion of dreams. Anything you dreamt of and anything that you really desired could expand even more. It was a really powerful time for manifestation of good or bad. So whatever it is you're focusing on, that will get amplified. Wherever your intention is and whatever Jupiter is doing gets amplified. So with Jupiter and Aries, we're focusing on Aries ego things again and focusing on what your self-identity is and what it is that you desire and want, and that's going to be really, really amplified. So it's going to be easier for you to hone in on those Aries themes. If you have a hard time sort of tapping into your ego, Jupiter's going to come and like kind of expand that ego. So as with everything, that's got a positive and a potential downside to it. So if you are needing help with your ego, if you have a very underdeveloped ego, and you're always martyring yourself, or you can never really tap into what it is you want and it's just too confusing, Jupiter moving into Aries is going to give you like, well, if you're having a hard time finding it, we're going to blow it up a little bit. So you're going to have a much easier time tapping into what it is you want, but you may have a harder time toning it down. So if you have a very strong sense of ego and that fight, that Aries energy, that's going to expand. So whereas before you might just want to tackle your problems and fight like, your little Aries battles, all of a sudden you might be looking up and seeing like you can tackle the whole world. So there's this feeling, because there's this potent positive feeling to Jupiter, like anything is possible. Which is great. And then also if you step outside what your capacity is and you take on too much, then you might win big. That might be like the lottery deal of you jumping up and harnessing that Jupiter energy of feeling like you can do anything. But you want to make sure you can back it up. So make sure that you're really resourced in that regard. Otherwise you might kind of shoot a little too far and collapse if you're not actually that able to work in that expansion. And you want to make sure that you are still, again, respecting other people's boundaries. Aries energy, it's fire. Fire is great. Fire is warming. You can cook with it. It's a light, brings clarity to your vision, and it burns. And if you expand it really quickly without really being aware of what you're doing, you can burn a lot of other people. So this Jupiter and Aries energy, it's kind of like with Venus and Jupiter together, and they've been together in the sky for a little while. Venus will be speeding along past pretty soon, but the Venus and Jupiter have very, very similar energies of like luck and love and abundance. Venus is very like personal abundance and the love that you have in relationships with other people. Jupiter really takes that and expands it. It's this like happy-go-lucky, like kind of horseshoe, like everything goes right for you, this overarching abundance. So the two of them together, both in Aries, is going to be like, this is a really great time if you are very intentional with that Aries energy to really turn it in a positive way, to bring that loving energy, that value and that expansion into a healthy exploration of your ego, and that healthy fight for what you value. So there's going to be a lot of really cooking energy, which is going to bring a lot of vibrancy to Taurus season, again, which is a very earthy, stable sign. But there's going to be this really like this hot fire to it. So you're going to like, there's going to be this great tendency to be working at your goals, but not like feeling weighed down or slow, like nothing's moving, because there's this heat. So there's going to be this excitement of like, yeah, I'm planting my seeds, I'm working on things. And I really, really believe that this is going to have a really, like, kind of picture like you're putting your seeds in, germinating your seeds, and you've got like a nice hot sun lamp over it. So those seeds, like, they're going to be feeling the heat. They're going to be really reaching towards that light and abundance. And then down the line, that means you're going to have a way more fruitful crop because there's a lot of heat there. So picture that Aries energy as the sun lamp on your Taurus kind of planting seeds. I'm not going to say much more on Jupiter. Then the last major transit is Mercury going retrograde, still in Gemini on May 10th. So the same day that Jupiter moves into Aries, Mercury starts going backwards. So, like I was talking about with the Pluto retrograde, this is all about reflection and reorientation. Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year, and he's been doing a lot of retrogrades in air signs. We had last year, all of his retrogrades were air signs, just had retrograde in Aquarius, he's doing it in Gemini again. So the last 2 years, we've had so much time to really think about our thinking, to slow down and say, just because this is the way I normally run on autopilot, can I change that programming? Is this still helpful for me? So Mercury retrograding in Gemini is going to be thinking about how we communicate, thinking about how we like to learn and what we're learning about our relationships in a verbal way, and slowing that down and trying to think, okay, am I really putting intentionality into my conversations, and my thought process? Am I just jumping around and, like, where am I having valuable thinking and learning experiences? Retrograde is always that invitation to slow down. There's a lot more. Mercury retrograde is always kind of maligned as being this terrible time, bad luck, horrible miscommunications, technology flubs, and travel upsets. But usually that's just a result of trying to move at your regular forward pace when the energy is wanting you to slow down. So as long as you are slowing down, being intentional, double check that email before you send it, make sure you send that attachment, back up your files, and just don't assume that things are going to work. Double check and go slow, which is a really, really great thing to think about when we're talking about communication. Think before you speak, then think again, and then speak, and then ask to clarify and make sure people have understood you. Invite other people to slow down while they are reflecting with you, so that the communication isn't just steamrolling ahead with a bunch of misunderstandings going on. It's the invitation for you and others to slow down. And if you can build that practice, then when Mercury goes direct again, you will have a much better skill set in how you communicate, because you've really, like, gone through and slowed down on it. So in a way, that retrograde is going to feel easier because we already have that Taurus energy. So like we said before, we're in Taurus season, and when Mercury leaves Taurus into Gemini, we're going to want to be working slow and steady, and our brains are going to go every which way. So when we retrograde, it's actually going to be kind of bringing us back into a mental energy that's going to fit a little better with that slower Taurus pace. So this retrograde might actually, like, not feel as weird, because it's almost been more weird to have that high speed Gemini energy with the Taurus vibe. So enjoy that retrograde. As always, don't be freaked out by a retrograde. Just understand what the energy is asking you to do, and just take it slow. So that is May 10th. And then there aren't any other totally significant transits for the rest of Taurus season. Taurus season ending on May 20th. Again, I'm not going over full moons and new moons in this workshop at this moment, but I will give them a mention because we are in eclipse season or this next eclipse season is happening in Taurus season. So the new moon in Taurus is on April 30th, and that's going to be a partial solar eclipse. So not a total solar eclipse, but we're going to be having that moon moving in front of the sun from our vision. So that's April 30th. That's going to open up the eclipse portal, which is going to be going for 2 weeks until the full moon in Scorpio, which is going to be a total lunar eclipse on May the 15th. So that's going to be a bit more of a heightened time than our usual cycle of new and full moons. The last ones that we had were 6 months ago in Scorpio season. So the same, kind of the inverse, where it's the full moon in Taurus, new moon in Scorpio. So this axis is we're playing with the axis of Taurus and Scorpio for our moon cycles right now. I'm not going to get into that. That's talking about lunar nodes, a whole other day. Maybe I'll do a workshop on that. But for now, I'm just going to give you the dates, and there's other resources to do more specifics on moon moon transits. So I'm just going to leave with that because there was a lot of transits to get through. We're already half an hour in and I still haven't done the tarot reading. So that's what we're going to do next. So we're going to pull some, or just a single card to give a bit of a kind of energy for Taurus. So this is not a sign-specific reading. There's still my April tarot horoscopes up available for individual signs for more specific guidance. And then at the beginning of May, I'll have my the additional tarot horoscopes up again. Woo! There. Oh, that was 2 of them. Don't normally do 2 cards, but they both jumped out, so lucky. This is going to be a long workshop. Okay, so we're just going to do these 2. The first one that came out on top was the Ace of Wands. So here we have a hand holding the singular wand. There's a bunch of little leaves coming off of it, a few more kind of hands holding things in the background, and then this sickle here up top. And then the other one that came out was looks like the 8 of Wands in reverse. So this is the way it looks the right way up. We have the scene of these soldiers, these sort of Roman centurions clashing there. It's kind of like these kind of blood streaks up top and these wands around and a little book up top. Came out upside down like this, underneath the card like this. So gonna see what, yeah, they're getting a lot today. Let's see, you're gonna start with the Ace of Wands. And here we go. Instinctive drives. The growing flower on the right symbolizes personal drives, motivating forces, and the endeavors of each individual. Human beings possess basic instincts such as self-preservation and reproduction, as well as cultural instincts such as love and aggression. Our instincts determine our behavior and actions, as the symbolic hands on this and the other cards of the wand show. We can only succeed in all our endeavors and put out green shoots if we are in constant contact with our inner fire. Yet sometimes we fail. We have to go through many ordeals of fire, sometimes even burning to cinders like the mythical phoenix if we want to be born again, as symbolized by the sickle in the upper right corner and the flower. The positive result of all such transformational processes is a cleansing and purification of our instincts and behavior. Therefore, wands and the fire element in general are symbols of the human will. If all goes well, we will discover a true will. This card is all about finding our real identity and true home. To be centered within ourselves and at the same time at home in the world often entails 2 conflicting issues or 2 ends of a wand that need to be united. Practical advice. This card challenges you to do something active and yet also have the courage to let something happen. You will learn the answer by doing. Follow your energy and keep moving. Closely observe your fellow human beings and pay attention to relevant forces. Okay, this card has a lot of Aries energy. This fire sign, this wands are fire element, this singular wand of fire, this new inspiration, some new kind of force or motivation is coming up, a new sense of identity, not full fruition yet, just a new idea, something to plant, something to work with, and grow into something bigger, which feels a lot like that Aries energy that we just had, of a new spark of insight, a new spark of a sense of ego and sense of identity that now you're going to have to work to build and manifest a little bit more of. So this is sort of like you want to plant this wand in the dirt of the Taurus energy of this season, that we have the spark of inspiration of our ego. We do have a few planets moving into Aries as well, so we are still focusing on concepts of the ego and concepts of these instincts and transformation. But how do we undergo transformation? We have to put in the work. We have to do the work to have that transformation. We can't just have the idea of this goal. We're going to have to kind of go through that purification process, which is often kind of mundane. Like it's not always like this big fiery ritual of passion and excitement. A lot of it is, that can be part of it, but the actual implementation of and integration of any particular lesson of purification is going to manifest through daily practice, through long-term change. Otherwise, you just go through the big Phoenix ordeal and then nothing really changes. You have a big memory, you feel good, you get a bunch of dopamine for a little bit, and then you just go right back to the way you were. So this is really needing to do something, follow the energy, keep moving, and discover a true will, but that's a longer process. So I'm going to read into this Eight of Wands and see if it gives us a little bit more of a conversation on this card here. So, Eight of Wands, greater responsibility. Wands represent vital energies, drives, and aims, ensure that the inner fire keeps on burning. Eight wands form a pattern of manifold and diverse energies. This is the card of multifarious energy transfer. As in the superimposition of several magnetic fields, the forces involved may either neutralize or enhance each other. Dali's version of this card is unusual as it shows a scene from the Oath of the Hurati. The Hurati secured the power of Rome around 660 BC by using subterfuge in a struggle against the Curati. Oath and treason, ideals and idols become topical whenever we encounter strong powers and have to learn to face them. Dali rightfully puts the power of enthusiasm at the center of his picture. The book in front of the two wands emphasizes the moving power of the human spirit and the written word. Great undertakings require motivation and enthusiasm. The right word at the right time can work miracles and heal wounds, but false ideals can also make the blood boil. They open up old wounds and create new ones by being overly zealous or by exercising blind obedience. The insect on the left shows that this all happens on a subconscious, vegetative, or automatic level. The card counsels you to become aware of your own motivating forces and your goals and to take full responsibility for your own actions. You are challenged to grow in understanding and stature. Practical advice. Make sure that good vibrations exist between you and other people. Learn to understand what moves you and others. Become more sensitive to the needs of all parties involved. Then you will be able to harmonize many different types of energy and accomplish many things without having to resort to manipulation. Okay, well that's funny because I said I wasn't going to talk about the new moon and full moon in this workshop, but I think these cards just jumped out as these ends of the eclipse portal. So this being the new moon in Taurus, where we're planting ideas or planting seeds with the hope to grow something from our will and identity. Which is a new moon is very much this opening of the portal and it's new intentions of new seeds. New moon is all about starting to grow something. And then here we have this, for the full moon in Scorpio, we have this Eight of Wands, which is talking a lot about these scorpionic components of possible betrayal and subconscious action. Scorpio rules like the depths, the subconscious, the underworld, and a lot of the dark side of Scorpio has to do with jealousy or wanting to take revenge on people, and like when repressed anger and emotions don't get expressed and they can turn to kind of backstabbing treachery. So that's one of these possibilities of the Scorpio energy, is if you don't harness the power, if you don't expunge that trauma, and if you don't deal with those intense boiling energies, it can come out in violence. But if you deal with it in a good way, that's about healing trauma, pulling things out of the depths of the subconscious and bringing them to the light. So we have at the ends of these eclipse portal, we have this invitation to plant something at this beginning of this portal, to just take the sort of Aries inspiration that we've had and really put it in solid earth with nutrition, that we want to build something and we want to create and grow something. And then we have this possible harvest at the end of this eclipse portal, which could be this bringing up of something from underground, something from the unconscious, and transferring energy out of what has been repressed and bottled up into something that we can then release. And full moon is usually about releasing something. It's something coming to fruition. And Scorpio energy is often quite intense. So a full moon in Scorpio can be very, very emotional, can feel very overwhelming and intense because there's this releasing of that scorpionic energy. It can feel intense if it feels out of control, but it can feel like such a relief if what the release is all of that repressed grit and trauma that's been blocking your energy, that's been holding you back or holding you in this cycle of anger, revenge. And if you can release it, as in let it go. Release can be like exploding it all over people and being violent and aggressive, or it can be release as in I finally surrender and I let it go. So that's this kind of option of how this eclipse portal can go. Eclipse portals are very heightened, a lot of expansion to whatever energy you're dealing with. It's like this kind of kind of bit of a manifestation portal. So you really want to be cautious. Don't be afraid, but be cautious of what the energy is that you're focusing on, what your intentions are in that period, because it's going to be amplified a lot more. So you can be amplifying this hopeful growth and this working on something new, and you can be amplifying this possibility of healing and bringing out what's subconscious and letting it go, or you could be amplifying that repression and just compacting even more, or letting it out in a really angry way because you haven't been able to take it and contain it. So that's kind of the, as always, you are the one in control. Like, these energies are happening either way, but you are not. You still have your own agency, and you still have your ability to make choices and manage it how you will. So you can pick whichever way you want to go in this eclipse season, and you have this ability for a really, really great new birth and growth, as well as this release and allowing something to be let go, that may have been weighing really, really heavily. So that's what's coming up for this tarot reading. So it looks like these cards were less about the whole of Taurus season, and these are more specifically about the eclipse portal. But that's going to be a pretty potent time, and a big chunk of Taurus season anyway. So again, that was April 30th to May 15th. So yeah, hope that's helpful for you. And if you want more info on each of for your specific energies for the whole of Taurus season, and what's going to be happening for you in a more like general way, then you can again check out those Aries season, or the April tarot horoscopes, because the last chunk of that has to do with the beginning of Taurus season, and then the beginning of May. Check that out, and you can get your reading for what's going to be helping you with Taurus season as well. So that's it for today. Looks like this was a little bit longer than last time. But it looks like there's going to be a lot going on. Energy's moving. And yeah, so I didn't mention at the beginning of this workshop, but I live in Songhees Esquimalt Nations Lekwungen speaking territory in BC, and I just do honor and am deeply privileged to get to live here and work here and do my spiritual practice on a very beautiful land that has been held in such high regard by these people, and have had, in the issues of colonization, their ability to care and thrive on their land taken away from them, and it is of course our duty to be working in reconciliation in a tangible way. So I really encourage you to start, if you are a settler living on Indigenous land, to just start by learning a little bit about where you are, and trying to do what you can to really honor how you step and be in relationship in a healthy way with the land that you live on. This is also a pay what you can workshop. So I appreciate any donations that you make. Allows me to keep producing content like this for you. So the donation link is down below in the comments. So I'm very happy to receive your support. And as always, though, that is pay what you can within your means. So I'm really happy for you to join me today for this Taurus season workshop. Still getting my flow, and we'll see how the next ones go. So feel free to let me know. Give me any feedback for what you liked, if you liked the order, or if you have anything else that you'd really like to see in these workshops. But other than that, best of luck for Taurus season, and I will see you next time.